What's up, everybody? Welcome back here for another episode of Dolphins versus the World. And as always, I'm joined by the man behind the camera, our producer, Joel. And back with me is my co-host, Anthony. Anthony, how are you feeling, man?
I am feeling good. Happy to be doing the podcast.
Definitely, yeah. It was a good one. Hopefully people aren't thinking you were just out of here because we lost or something. But
No. My job changed up some hours unexpectedly. So just wasn't really doing so hot that day, but I got more hours and I got a little bit of a pay raise in the last 5 days. So it all works out. But yeah, the loss certainly didn't help. I might have powered through a little if it was a win. But yeah, just life was life is rough sometimes. So I was just like, hey, if you can do the podcast, man, I'd appreciate that because I'm not really doing so hot right now, but I'm much better right now.
No, glad to hear that. That's awesome that ended up working out. But yeah, we'll just start here. If you got anything to say about the Eagles, I gave my thoughts. The only just quick thing I'll add is since recording, it seems that Isaiah Wynn is a bit of going to be out at least for a bit of time. So that's not great whatsoever. But what do you think about the game and the sort of big picture of the Dolphins moving forward?
Yeah, I think, you starting off talking about Isaiah Wynn is really where I want to go. The main thing, overall defensively, and we'll kind of talk about it when we get into the Patriots game. I know we put up 30 or we allowed 31 points, but considering the Eagles offensive line, you're out Xavier Howard. I thought our defense actually has been looking a lot better, and 17 all going into the fourth quarter. And Chase, we all know how the NFL, it could be close and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it's just 2 scores, there's an interception. But overall, I just look at that game, a lot of injuries, you're playing a phenomenal team, and you're without Connor Williams and your left guard goes down. I'm not really sure what people expected. You and I both predicted we would lose. You actually nailed it. The only difference between your prediction and what happened was that we didn't get that last minute touchdown or something, but you pretty much nailed it right on the head. But overall, just awful refereeing. That's not the reason why we lost, but certainly, it was just so bad. So, we moved past it. Hopefully this team got better from it and, we move on.
Yeah. And I'll recap my thoughts just in case anyone didn't watch and is curious, and to let you kind of know also. For me, the defense was very encouraging. What are you going to do? You get them to 4th and 1. That's a good for any defense. But when you're playing the Eagles, it's irrelevant. But for the Dolphins, you get them to 4th down. To me, that's a good job because most teams, they're going to cower it out and punt. It's certainly inside your own 20 or whatever it was for them when the game was still close. But just anytime that happens, if it happened to the Eagles where Lane Johnson and Travis Kelce are out and then their guard goes down also, I wouldn't expect them to win. So we move on. I don't think that it's the measuring stick that everyone kind of is making out to. I know I've seen some stuff. I have an interesting question I want to ask you after this, but I think the big game is the Chiefs. That to me is where I kind of will see what is this team? If we lose that and lose it comfortably, but maybe it's true that we're just kind of average and we can't hang up with the big boys.
Yeah. It kind of sucks because, hopefully the Germany game, we'll get into Jalen Ramsey a little, but, I brought this up on my Twitter and I don't know if I'm able to, I don't need to bring up the tweet, but essentially what I said was off the top of your head, and it's kind of not a rhetorical question, but you don't have to answer it because it's okay if you don't know, the Bengals lost 7 games in 2021. Who did they lose to? I don't know because I don't care because they went to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. Get to the playoffs and it's everyone starts 0-0, right? And that's when it matters. So, you again, like you and I have both said, you want to be competitive in those tough games. It's hard to be competitive without that many key players. And I don't really think we have a full grasp of what this Dolphins team can be because of a lot of the injuries. So, again, let's just get to the playoffs. Enough of this, like, even the Chiefs game. It's like, okay, yeah, this Chiefs game is a measuring stick, but like, so much can change between the now and the playoffs if both teams get there. So let's just go out. Let's play good football regardless of the opponent. And it starts this week against the Patriots.
Yeah, definitely. The stat that I just wanted to ask, it kind of goes just against what you're saying, but like I agree with you. I haven't really thought of it that way. Like, just get in to the playoffs and you got a shot. But some stuff does matter. You don't want to be a massive underdog, and like we were against the Bills, where it's like, well, we got like no realistic shot here. But anyway, so the Dolphins have not beaten a team with a winning record since they beat the Bills week 3 last season, which, I don't even know if they should have really won that game, but that's pretty crazy. It's that was 9/25/2022. Wow. When I saw that, I was like, has it really been that long? I mean, look, you can only play the teams in front of you, so it doesn't really matter. And they went to the playoffs, but yeah, that's just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of last year's schedule. We played the Bengals, who were a winning team, and we were without Tua for half of it. The Vikings were a winning team. We didn't have Tua.
That's the other thing. Like, a bunch of teams are playing teams with backup quarterbacks who are winning teams they like, but the Bengals are playing a backup quarterback this week, but they're going to play a winning team, but no one will remember it. It's all just,
Right. So like we played the Patriots too, and we lost to them at the end of the year, barely, with a backup. So it's just like, I understand the stat, but at the same time, again, like, no one, when it comes playoff time, I don't think anyone's going to care. Like, let me flip this and ask you this, and it's really to everyone listening too. What happens if you go, let's see, 16-1 and you lose your first game in the playoffs? Do you care if you beat a bunch of playoff teams in the regular season? You don't. So I think the truth lies somewhere in between. Obviously, if you are consistently getting your ass kicked by playoff teams, you can expect that when you get there, 2008, 2016, that's kind of what's going to happen, is that you're going to get your ass whooped in the playoffs. But again, let's wait till like yesterday. I don't know how, or last week, how can you evaluate that game without Jalen Ramsey, your starting left side of your offensive line, and Jalen Waddle's in and out of the lineup the whole game? I don't really know how much you can glean from that, but if people want to go out there and say we're not a good team, then I can't control that.
Yeah, it's a week-to-week league. It's a cliche to say, but I feel like I've been saying that a lot this year, because they're from week to week. Week 0, in my opinion, I was like, the Rams are terrible. They're not even going to be a competitive team. And then they go out and win. And then a couple of weeks go by and it's like, what are they? Same thing with the Dolphins. 1 week they're winning by 70. The next they lose by over 20 points. So you're never as good as your best, and you're never as bad as your worst. Just try to remember that, you're somewhere in the middle. And we'll keep seeing with this Dolphins team, because this is a interesting matchup that we'll get into. But before that, we'll talk about sort of the health of the team and the big picture here. Definitely a lot of positive news on the injury front, I would say, for this team. Obviously, the biggest being Jalen Ramsey may play this game. I don't think it's necessary. I don't know what you've been hearing. I think, from what I kind of logically would think, and what he said himself on Twitter, is it seems a lot more likely that he will go next week. And I don't think this is a matchup where he has to play. If we lose, then I would definitely regret saying that. But I just don't see any of these receivers really dominating a game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And Joel and I were chatting a little bit before the before we started recording about it. To me, it always made sense that he comes back after the bye week for the home game against the Raiders. I'd been hearing rumblings of him coming back for the Germany game, and I think that's kind of lining up with what we're seeing. If he comes back against the Patriots, would I do it? No. I don't think in 48 hours we're going to be sitting here talking about the Dolphins. If we lost, it's because Jalen Ramsey didn't play. X should be out there. Javon's not going to be out there. So that honestly is more of a, I guess, reason. But yeah, I don't see it necessary. I'm not saying he's not going to play. I just don't really see it being necessary. And I wonder how much of that aspect will play into it with Mike McDaniel, because we know how cautious he is with injuries. So I'm curious how much they look at it and say, like, the injuries to our O-line are going to impact this game way more than Jalen being there. We beat them in Foxborough week 2 with this same exact secondary. And as much as we love Javon, let's not act like Javon's like this that has been playing, whether it's because of injuries or scheme, whatever. It's not like he's been having these crazy, they're taking deep shots up the Patriots are not going to do that. You have to have good defensive line play, limit the turnovers. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't really see the necessity. I don't know if he'll play. I don't see the necessity in him playing this week though.
Yeah, I think I don't know with Jalen Ramsey, but most players in the NFL, like for example, Connor Williams, Jalen Waddle on our injury report, they're not going to play if the team doesn't want them to play because of injury reasons, like River Craycraft, etc. But there's certain players in this league. Quarterback positions are, notoriously the number one. Like if they say they can play, they can call their own number. Tyreek Hill this week, I think, is doing that. I don't think this team would want Tyreek Hill playing, to be quite honest with you, in this matchup. We'll see if he gets a limited snap count, but he wants to break the record. Make no mistake about that. Obviously, it's not priority number one, but if it happens, it happens. So I think this week he's playing because he wants to play. I think if the team had the choice, I don't know if they would, let him go.
Yeah, I look at this injury report. Javon Holland sticks out to me. You and I know we both feel the same way about this. When it comes to concussions after last year, I would, if I was a betting man, I'd bet heavy on him not playing. Could he play? Possibly. Like, will he pass protocol? Or I don't even know if he has already, but tomorrow he could pass. Will he pass? Probably, but a position like that with concussion after last year, I don't see him playing. X will play. I think Alec Ingold will probably play. I think pretty much everyone on that injury report that we were worried about will be playing. The only two that, again, really is a question mark to me, Jalen Ramsey, who I don't think it's necessary for him to play. And if I was a betting man, I would say he's probably not. And then Connor Williams, my brain is telling me sit him another week, but also, when we get into this game, like, this game is actually a little more important than people might be giving it credit for, in my opinion. But like Connor Williams, Mike McDaniel said he'll be active, but he probably won't start. So, it's one of those, like, if we need him, he'll play, but we'd rather not. I mean, you play the Eagles without him. You played the Giants, who have a better defensive line. So we've faced tougher defensive lines without, and we've won games without Connor Williams. And again, you have a game coming up next week that's huge. I want to ask you too, and when I switch it over to you, like, because my thought is, I understand and I agree with the Dolphins being cautious, but my worry, and I'm curious if you have the same worry, like, we keep sitting here saying, we're playing for February. We're playing for February. Well, you better hope that you're not being so cautious that you don't even make it to January. And that's my worry. I'm not saying that I think because Connor possibly won't play and they're slow playing it that we'll lose this game, but I just hope that, their eyes aren't too focused on February, but, you're resting guys when they technically could play all in hopes that, you know, when they are healthy, that you're all of a sudden going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying to a degree. What I'll say is that I think it'd be harder for them to miss the playoffs than make it. Or yeah, it'd be easier to make it than to miss. Like I think they should be in, barring a catastrophic injury. Now, just because of, like, I think the Jets will end up, defense is not as sustainable long term. Like, and their defense is unbelievable, but eventually they got some tougher matchups here. But anyways, so I think that they'll get in, but the question is, what seed will they be? Because I think if they just get in because they're resting these guys and playing for the playoffs and don't win more games than some other teams, they're going to end up having to go to Baltimore, which is not a place they want to play. I think we match up well against them, but that's besides the point. They could end up in Kansas City, hypothetically, and that's a tough place to play. End up in Buffalo, that's not a place you want to be. You want a home playoff game. You want to win this division. You want to play a team like that limps in as the wild card. You want to play the Bengals, who, like, Joe Burrow's health is all over the place, but maybe at that point the calf re-aggravates. You got an easier matchup. Like, think of last year, the Ravens ended up coming in with a backup quarterback. Like, that's going to be the team you're playing down the stretch. That ends up having you want a home game. And obviously, if it was a perfect world, we'd want the 1 seed in a bye. But I think realistically, your goal for the rest of the season should be a home playoff game, not just making it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. You know, I think the number 1 seed is definitely, obviously, really nice. But to me, the home playoff game is like huge, because I've said this for years that they need to redo these conferences or redo these divisions and stuff like that, because the Dolphins are at such a disadvantage. Really, any of the Southern teams, whether you play in a dome, because when, like, you look at it, most of the teams making the playoffs, aside from the Jaguars, all of them are in cold weather. And it's like, that is such a disadvantage. And we saw last year, you know, the Jaguars were able to win the division. I know it was a crappy division, but they got a home playoff game, and we saw what happened, where they're able to mount that comeback because the crowd is still in it and they're fighting. So yeah, definitely that is huge. So, you know, hopefully the goal is to get these guys healthy so that when everyone's healthy, you win a bunch of games and lock it in. But it starts off again, you know, this week we're playing the Patriots. Speaking of division, we're going against a team that is 2-1 in the division.
One more thing about division before we switch to that, and ties into home playoff game. I mean, man, Buffalo, like, if Chris Godwin turns his head a second or two earlier, we could be 2 games ahead again. I mean, I don't know.
Or if the refs, like, I don't know if that's always the case, but like, I'm like, there's a guy literally getting tackled.
Hail Marys
there's
are
no.
I don't think I've ever seen a flag on a Hail Mary except the one where, for us, before half.
But see, that's where I have a problem, and I don't want to go on this too long. But like, that's where I have a problem, where it's like, okay, so we get into later in games and it's just like it's a free for all, because at that point, if you're not going to call a penalty, then F it, just throw the ball up. I'm going to tackle all your guys. Why not? If it's allowed. So I don't know. I'm not just saying that because it's the Bills. I've seen it many times where I'm like
no consistency.
And it's not even the guy catching the ball. Like, the guy catching ball, I understand you're trying to bat it. Okay. But I'm like, there's a guy being tackled and being removed from even trying to get the ball. I'm not saying like there's a lot of interference because everyone's trying to grab the ball. I'm saying there's a guy who cannot go to the ball because he's literally being tackled while the ball's in the air. But anyway, I digress. We can get into this week's matchup against the Patriots.
No, definitely. And like you're saying, 2-1 division. I think a couple of weeks ago, if you asked me, I would have said the Patriots and the Jets are just 2 dead teams. But I mean, quietly, both these teams are fighting hard. So an interesting thing I just kind of want to touch on before the breakdown. is if you look at a team like the Ravens, they got a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, and everyone kind of gave them a pass the first few weeks, like when it wasn't clicking on all cylinders offensively. It's like, well, they got a new offensive coordinator. They're installing a new offense. Lamar's, going back. They're trying to make him a different quarterback than he was. It takes time. And now in New England, the first few weeks, they have Bill O'Brien. I'm not saying he's not as smart as Todd Monken or anything like that, but by the same thing, he's a new offensive coordinator and installing a new system. And their offense was absolutely just pitiful the first few weeks. Not saying it's been great or anything, but they can move the football. They're different than before where it was just disaster. So maybe don't overlook this Patriots team just yet, everyone. Like, why didn't we give them a pass to the first few weeks? And who's not say they're the average team we thought they may have been.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where I think if the Dolphins win this game, the Patriots are out of it. I mean, that'd be 6. I still think they're out of it. But if they lose this game, that'd be 6 losses. They still have to play the Chargers, the Bills, the Steelers, possibly the Jets again, depending on what's going on there, and the Chiefs. So like they have probably at least another 3-4 losses on the schedule coming up aside from this game. So, but yeah, I mean, I think this is big, not necessarily because the Patriots are 2-1 in the division, because at the end of the day, if the only games you're winning are division games, it doesn't matter. Division games only matter when you're in playoff contention or you're fighting for the division. So it could come into play, obviously, if the Dolphins and Bills look like the top 2 teams, it'll come into play with them. And that's really where I want to take this is the Bills are quietly 1-2 in the division. They lost. The only game they beat was the Dolphins. How in the world we lost by 28 points, yet the Jets and Patriots beat them it pisses me off, to be honest with you, if I'm just being 100% honest. But nonetheless, they're 1-2 in the division. That Eagles or their loss last week, the Bills loss against the Patriots, afforded the Dolphins the luxury to lose last week and still be in first place. If you win this game against the Patriots, not only are you still a game ahead of the Bills, but you are now 2-1 in the division to where, say the Dolphins were to lose against the Chiefs, the Bills win next week, you still, I believe, actually, would they have it above us because of the tiebreaker? Because they beat us.
I believe for the first tiebreakers, the division wins. I may be wrong on that, but I'll check for you here if you want to keep going. I'll check.
Well, yeah, I'm curious to see if it's like head to head but anyway, not even with that. But at the end of the year, I mean, if you can be 2-1, you still have the Jets twice. With the way their defense looks, that could be where you split with them. But certainly they'll probably be favored in both games. And then you have the Bills at home. So you have a chance here to go up 2-1 in your division, maintain first.
The first is it's head to head.
Yeah. So this is a big game because I mean, if the Dolphins lose this game, we are 3rd in the division. The Bills won, and the Jets are going to beat the Giants. I mean, I'd be shocked if they lost. So it's like if you lose this game, you are now 3rd in your division because you'll be 1-2. You lost your head to head to the Bills, and the Jets are 1-1 in the division. So this is a big game for the Dolphins. And, speaking on the offense, or I guess the Dolphins defense starting off there, I look at it like last time we played them. I understand they had success against the Bills. Quite honestly, that was more on the Bills if I'm being quite like just watching the game. Josh Allen throws an interception that leads to a 10-0 start, and they still had the lead all the way until the very end. The Bills were winning, and the Patriots just had a drive where they went down, and the Bills just couldn't close out. Shocking. But, I still feel the same way about this Patriots offense. I think that it's hard for them to score a lot of points. And you're playing in Miami. I just don't really see none of these games. I actually looked this up. Only 3 games in the last 16 years have the Dolphins scored more than 30 points. And I think the Patriots, obviously, it's been more than that, unfortunately. But Yeah, like I mean, we'll see. I would love for this to be a high scoring game. But I look at it, I don't see the Patriots being able to score a lot in Miami. They could only score 17, and they worked really hard for those 17. And our defense has been coming on way more the last few weeks. So, as far as defense, just win at the line of scrimmage. But I don't look at anything like the Eagles where I go, there's AJ Brown, there's Devontae Smith, there's the best offensive line in football. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. It's like, I mean, they're good. They'll beat you if you allow them to. But I just think, I just think we're a better team and it's a good matchup for us.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are a team that's going to have a really hard time to come back in games. If they get the lead, then they can hang in the game and are a dangerous team to play, like when they got out 10-0 against Buffalo. But if you get out to like a 10-0 or a 14-0 lead, I just don't see how the Patriots could hang in this game, to be honest, because they don't have any explosive players in their offense. They're not going to get that like 40-yard gain or anything. Not against an improving run defense. And yeah, so we could do offense here or get into keys.
Yeah, we can head into the Dolphins offense real quick. I think we'll see what happens with our offensive line. How much of a factor, I understand everyone was like, oh, is Tyreek going to play? I don't know. Like Tyreek doesn't have good games against the Patriots. So I'm not looking at this. And I think a lot of people are starting to talk more openly without being criticized about what I've been kind of saying for about 4 or 5 weeks now, where I caution the Dolphins and Tua of getting to where the Patrick Mahomes and led Chiefs got before they got rid of Tyreek, which is to me, it's becoming way too Tyreek centric. If Tyreek's open, I understand it, but I think a lot of times Tua is forcing it to him. Like, I understand, dude, you're wanting to get to 2,000 yards, and I love Tyreek Hill, but like, I mean, the fact that we're sitting here, what week are we at? We're at week
8.
Jalen Waddle's missed one game, and he's not even eclipsed 400 yards receiving. To me, that's just like, I understand Tyreek's going off and everything, but it's like against Bill Belichick teams, he's going to take away Tyreek. So you have to find creative ways to get your playmakers the ball and distribute the ball evenly. Tua has had success at that. He has yet to lose to Bill Belichick. But the key on offense to me is, they're obviously they have more tape on the Dolphins than they did in week 2. They're going to have wrinkles to this. The key to the Dolphins offense is get the ball to other playmakers other than Tyreek Hill. And limit the turnovers, because I think if you can have a clean game on offense and, we still have Jalen Waddle, we still have Braxton Berrios, we still have Raheem Mostert. I still think we have a lot of good weapons. So as long as you play a clean game offensively, I don't think it'll be this crazy, Panthers game or Broncos game personally, but, just play a clean game. And like you said, I 100% agree. Get out to an early lead, because this Patriots team is not built to, again, there are 2 games that they won. They got out to a 10-0 lead against the Bills, and then against the Jets, they won and they scored 15 points. I think it was around 15 or something like that. So they are not built to score a lot of points and come from behind. So get out to an early start at home after last week's loss, and I think he should be just fine.
Yeah, and the Dolphins have been great at home the past 2 years, even a little bit more than that, which is awesome.
We've lost, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just going we've lost 2 games at home in the last 17 games, and both of those came. One of them was to the Packers, and the other one was to the Vikings, where we didn't have Tua. So take that for what you will.
It's pretty awesome. And then there's some big games coming up here. It's such a shame this game, Dolphins Chiefs game, is in Germany. It's I can't believe it. But we digress. Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see from this offense. You get not back on track. That's not the right way to say it, but it look fluid and the best offense in the NFL again.
Yeah. Just go out again. To me, when we get into the score prediction, we see the game differently. We both see the same team winning. But I mean, to me, I don't even need to see you like go out. I expect it to be an uglier game against the Patriots because it's a division game, and they seem to only be able to win against division teams. They can't do anything else. So just go out there again, have a clean game. Don't get a lot of injuries. Keep Tua healthy, most importantly, and win. Whatever that means. If it's an ugly game, so be it. I'm not going to complain. A win's a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And that I think leads right into our keys here. The first one for me is just to stay focused on this game. I think it's a big game next week, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows it in that locker room. Everyone knows it in the organization, I'm sure. I just feel like they think this is a massive game. And actually, funny story, when I was leaving the Panthers game, I just forgot this until now, but Stephen Ross literally drove right by us, like with his police escort. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm sure he knows this Chiefs game's big. Everyone's going to be watching. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. But all that aside, you got to stay focused on this game. Even though I just gave 100 million reasons not to focus on it. But they got to stay focused, because if you come into this game and think this is just the Patriots like the Bills thought, they will find a way to win this game. This is still Bill Belichick. They've been improving recently offensively, at least have a pulse. So you got to treat them seriously. This is a big divisional game, and it would really suck to lose this game and a monkey wrench be thrown into this season this early.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't. I think that if this was a non-division team, I would be worried about it. I just think because the Patriots, we hate the Patriots. You know that Buffalo won this week. I think that this team will be focused on winning, especially without some of the guys. Maybe if we were at full strength, we'd be feeling ourselves a little too much. But I think people understand that this is not an easy game, and the Patriots just beat the Bills. So agree there though. For me, I've talked about it. Limit the turnovers. You cannot give the Patriots extra chances to score. This is a team that, again, is not built to come from behind. We saw against the Bills, they came up to a 10-0 lead, and still up until the last couple of seconds, they were losing. Even with that 10-0 lead, they eventually lost it. So limit the turnovers, limit the mistakes, because if you can play a clean game, which we've seen Tua pretty much have over the course of his career against Belichick, I think that in Miami, with the stadium, it'll kind of wear them down as the game goes on. My second point, red zone offense and defense, like I kind of just mentioned, they kind of go hand in hand. You need to convert in the red zone, because the Patriots, they're just not going to go out. I'd be stunned if they scored more than 21, 24 points in this game. So when you go into the offense, convert, get touchdowns, not field goals. And then when they go there, again, limit them to some field goals, because they're going to get down in the red zone. But if you can limit them to field goals, again, that's going to put more pressure on them to, late in games score even more points. So I think that's going to be huge in this one, is obviously score when you get in the red zone, drive up that score. And then when they get there, which they ultimately probably will, you just got to limit how many points they're getting down there.
Yeah, and I think it's key. The Dolphins have actually been really good in the red zone this year. So pretty much it'd be I want to say historically good. It's 77%. It's got to be right up there with all time. So yeah, I mean, you could keep that up, just being efficient with the ball, not settling for field goals. Not that Mike McDaniel's ever done that, really, and I don't think he will. Smart guy. So I think it will stay positive and be huge for us. Next year, I have force Mac Jones to beat us downfield. So an interesting thing that the Patriots did last week was they just kind of made Mac Jones. It was a real easy, simple game plan. His average depth of target was 3.1 yards. That's bottom 10 since Pro Football Focus has begun tracking that stat in 2017. And it's because their O-line cannot block. So that's why they beat the Bills. They just got the ball out of his hands quickly and took what they can. If you make him throw downfield, the O-line's got to hold up, which it's not going to be able to do. And also that will lead to more sacks, which is always a good thing. So, I think if you just make him throw downfield, their receivers are slow, their O-line is poor, and he's not the, best processor really. So you do that, I think that will lead to some success.
Yeah, and hopefully this Dolphins defense can. Again, they've been coming on strong of late. But I do worry because this is a defense where it's like we'll give you whatever's there, but we're not going to give you anything over the top. So I worry about that. But again, looking at the matchup, just their talent, there's not really much there to worry about. So, I wonder if they will play a little closer because there is no threat of an AJ Brown, a Devontae Smith, a Stephon Diggs. So we shall see. And that honestly is similar to my third one. You got to put pressure on Mac Jones, make him uncomfortable. We've seen, unlike Tua, when this guy gets pressured and gets rattled, he makes stupid decisions. And quite honestly, he's been a big reason of why they've lost. I look at a couple of games where it's like, I don't know what he's thinking. Some of the throws he's making, forced to make a play, getting pressure on him, escaping the pocket. He'll do some stupid things. So, I think against the Vic Fangio defense, a simplified offense and a quarterback that, when put pressure on, makes mistakes, I don't really think it's a recipe for success. But certainly, I could really say that every week. You got to get pressure on these quarterbacks because I think that any quarterback, if you give them enough time, will be able to dissect and beat you.
Yeah, I agree with you. And my last one, I just have stay aggressive on all sides of the ball. I more so mean it as like a game plan. I was thinking that next week we're playing Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Like I said, this is a big game, and Andy Reid is notorious for keeping the good plays for the big games. And then when it's the playoffs or the important, games that decide the one seed, he calls all these insane plays that people have never seen before. It's a bad habit, but they get away with it because they have Patrick Mahomes who improvs all the time and wins them games. Mike McDaniel can't afford to do that. He's got to keep calling these games, doing the behind the back stuff, being creative. Like these plays have to keep evolving and being good. So I don't think you should try to, not put too much on film for next week. Just stay the aggressive, fast team that they are and play the way they've been playing. So that will be good.
Yeah. And, I think the Patriots, quite honestly, this is a game where we saw last time we played them. It's like, okay, what do you got, Patriots? A motion on a field goal. That's your counter. So
planning that for us.
Right. So it's like they understand that they want to beat us. Bill Belichick does not like the Dolphins. He really doesn't obviously like any of the division teams, but he's had trouble playing in Miami. We didn't even talk about that really, but the Patriots historically have not played well in Miami, no matter when they play for the last 20 years. It's always been this way. So I expect him to bring some wrinkles out, trick plays, fake punts, different things like that to kind of do some cheat tricks to get points. But yeah, definitely, especially on defense, I think that, if you just kind of let them sit back and do whatever they want, you're just like, hey, we're not going to give up a big play. Like they're not looking for a big play. So ultimately you're just feeding into what they like to do. So we shall see. Anyway, I'm going to pull up our score prediction. We see the game a little differently, but we both see the Dolphins winning. I'll start with you. You have the Dolphins winning pretty big here by over 4 scores. You have them winning by 38-14.
Yeah, I kind of think this is a team that feels like they have a little bit to prove after last week, just sort of based off the quotes and the mentality and guys coming back, at least practicing. And I just, like we've been saying, I think this Patriots offense is very easily game plannable. You have a lot of film out there. You know what you're going to see. Like, you're not going to get any Mike McDaniel behind the back pass. You're not going to get something coming out of nowhere besides the motion on a field goal. So I think you should be able to do whatever you want with this team. And if that happens, they're going to start wilting and they'll start thinking next week, and the Dolphins can run it up.
Yeah, I think we'll win. I see it being a little uglier of a game just because, with the injuries on O-line, some guys banged up. They have a little more film on us. Patriots have been playing well, coming off that win. I see it looking closer, but kind of like the game in New England, I don't really see the Patriots ever controlling this game. I see it kind of being like one of those 13-14 to 6 first halves, and then you come out, you score early, and the Patriots are just kind of trying to survive and keep it close the rest of the game. So I ultimately have them winning 27-20. But nonetheless, you and I both have the Dolphins winning this game and moving to 6-2. Wow, 6-2 on the season.
Man, that'd be nice. And then a big time game that we're gonna have to be up early for and possibly ruin our whole Sundays.
So that game's at 6:00 my time too. I think. Well, what time? When do the clocks change?
Oh, dude, is that happening? Yes.
Well, I'm trying to think. The clocks change.
It's early, but
no,
and that'd be
okay.
Great.
They change on the 5th. So wait a second. Oh God. Oh my God. Wait, does it? I'm trying to think I think we go ahead an hour. Yeah. Okay, we go ahead an hour.
It's on that day. Wow.
Yeah, because right now this game
got an extra hour.
Yeah. So right now this game is going to be played because I live in Arizona. So right now this game is supposed to be it's going to be played at 7:30 my time. Whew. It was going to be 6:30. I wake up early for work, so that's not
a good time to watch football though.
I know. I'm like, I need some coffee, but yeah. But I don't know why they put it in Germany. That's like arguably the best game of the season. And they put it in Germany.
And it's not like it wasn't known before that it was going to be this high leverage caliber game. Like, it's not like the Dolphins came out of nowhere or something. The only thing I will say is, like, the atmospheres I always think are way better for European, like, football, soccer games, but like it's not the same when everyone's going to be wearing Jags jerseys and Cowboys jerseys, Patriot jerseys, and everything.
Right. It's not really a home or away game for either team. It's just kind of, it's not really a home game for either team. Well, yeah, or an away game. It's just kind of like neutral. The Olympics. It's like the Olympics. You're like playing for a bunch of people who are like, this is their one opportunity to watch football.
Something interesting to follow for that game are the travel plans for both teams. I think you've seen it in all these international games. I mean, look at the Jags when they played the Bills after staying there a week. The Ravens got there early because when they went to London before, they travel plans stunk, and then look what they did to the Titans. Like, I'm not going to say that the travel plans decide it, but I definitely think it's an indicator of who knows what they're doing and who's more prepared and who's going to look fresher. And I think the Dolphins should be that team because they have a history of going there. So I'd be pretty surprised if their travel plans weren't similar to that of the Ravens or the Jags when they go.
And the Dolphins are an hour ahead of Kansas City and Miami. So every hour counts, I guess. So when the game is played, there'll be 1 hour. It'll take 1 day less to acclimate to the time. They'll be 1 hour closer to the time zone change. So, I think I really don't think, I know the Bills will use it as an excuse. I'm not going to use it as an excuse. Like, these guys fly so well, like they're taken care of well. And it's not like they're playing a game at like 1:00 their time, which is like, I don't even know. It's like 7 a.m. their time. Like they're playing a game which for them will feel like 10:30, 11 o'clock, which these guys are waking up early for practice and stuff. So, and both teams have to go through it. So I don't sit here and I say like, if the Dolphins lose, it's going to be because of that. Like ultimately these guys are taken care of. They have tons of good doctors and medical team taking care of them the right way. And the Dolphins normally travel well, I think. Pretty sure we normally travel well, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So it'll be a good game. But anyway, we start this week against the Patriots.
Yeah. Focus on the Patriots. All right.
Yeah.
If there's any Dolphins watching here, get to bed. All right.
Yeah.
But if you're watching still, thank you so much for watching. Thank you everyone for all the support here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Helps with the YouTube algorithm here. And from us at Dolphins versus the World, fins up, go Dolphins.